Dun, 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 dun. Just waiting for it to go live. There we go.
Is it on live?
Yeah, I'm live. I've been live for 12 seconds. So I'm just gonna fire up there. And then I'll put that over the top. So sorry guys, I'm just explaining to my 9-year-old daughter. I had to remember how old you were then, you know. I'm just explaining to my 9-year-old daughter, who's there she is, how a live works. And obviously I'm doing it through Zoom, so I'm just explaining to her how that works. And I was just humming to myself, wasn't I? Dum, 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 and we're live. So I was just showing you how the live is. But yes, we are now live. Someone is about to go and do their teeth and get ready for bed. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Why is there only 7 people?
Why is there only 7 people? Because I don't have a huge fan base. But the people that I do have that watch are absolutely brilliant and amazing. And it will go up as well because I'm actually early. That's the other reason, is people actually set their clocks for about 8:05 because that's when they expect me to be ready. But tonight I was actually here at 7:59. So I was early. Go away. Go do your teeth. Go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm not even going to apologize for that because I think that was quite cool myself. But yeah, good evening, everyone. Oh my God, there's a herd of elephants hammering upstairs. That was me showing my daughter how to set up a live Zoom. So I hope everyone is well this evening and you're having a good week. God, she bangs through every single door, doesn't she? For a 9-year-old, you'd have thought she'd be moved quieter. So good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a nice week. If I haven't said this before, then I apologize, but Thursdays have been for a little while now one of my favorite days of the week. You all know that I love a Monday, and you all know the reasons why I love a Monday. But actually, I really, really enjoy a Thursday because I really like doing this. It's like a counseling session. I've said that quite a few times. For me, it's like a self-counseling session. So I do enjoy that. I have got a drink with me this evening, but it is not quite as I said it is. At the moment, it is a cup of tea. So I'm going to pick up on my New Year's resolutions quickly. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I will talk about 50mm media. I can see Paul was on. I saw him drop a comment in earlier on, so I'll be interested just to get Paul's kind of thoughts on some of the bits, because I'll talk more about that in general and about kind of what I'm doing there. I can talk about some amazing things happening at Shrewsbury Prison. Because we had some bits being knocked out and all turned around today. And I can tell you all about my stresses of yesterday, which I posted on Instagram earlier. And I'm going to do a video about, because, yeah, it's more about kind of coronavirus and how that's affected the businesses and stuff like that. So that's kind of the coverage, if you want. And obviously I'll answer your questions or anything like that as you fire up at the same time. So my week's been pretty good. It obviously started, they generally start on quite a good high, my weeks, because I'm just straight into it. Monday, I plan on Sunday evenings, like getting ready for my week, just getting mentally ready, kind of getting all my stuff together, sorting out my emails, sorting out my meetings. So I'm there. So I'm not trying to do that Monday morning. So it's all done Sunday evening. So that was fine. There's been ups and downs, as there always are in all of our lives, and things like that. Yesterday was a really tough, hard day, and I'll talk more about that in a little while. It was hard. It was a long, tiring day. It was a big impact business day, and not necessarily a good way. And then this morning, I really felt that. I kind of felt I sort of de-stressed a little bit last night, but I kind of felt very overwhelmed this morning, and very kind of just like, and just almost kind of like mentally exhausted, when you just need to sleep and you just kind of feel like, I just need to sleep. And it's kind of like that, but I wasn't tired. It was just purely based on the fact that I was still reeling, I think, from the day before. So that was fine. That was about mindset, really. Today's been okay, though. It's been quite good. There's lots and lots of positives happening today, which is good. And just trying to find your journey through the positives. And I actually had the kids actually had to come in with me this morning. So the kids came into the office with me this morning, came into the prison, sat upstairs in my office, whilst I was working. That's the first time they've been into my office since I've moved. It was really nice because they have enough space to be able to do their own stuff, and I can get on with my stuff. And that was really nice actually to have them in there. And that was because Emma had to go off and do something else work-wise today. So because she was doing that, I had to have the kids. So yeah, that was that. And obviously I'm here, and tomorrow I'm working from home. I've got a couple of cool things happening tomorrow. So I'll see if I can touch on that later, but I'll have to speak very quietly because I'm surprised. But yeah, so let's start on New Year's resolutions. So I said, seeing the videos, I set 3 things for New Year's resolutions. That was about health, which was broken down to 3 aspects, which was about fitness, so physical health, was about nutrition, so the diet, and was about mental health. So obviously my mindset and my well-being in terms of my mental health and such. Then I had my business. So I was talking about the making the current business we have nice and solid and stable, talking about diversifying our portfolio and spreading it wider, and empowering more of my team to be able to drive things forward. And then there was my family, and that was all about spending more quality time, so more presenteeism, so being actually in the room when you're in the room, as opposed to being in the room and just being like, yeah. So that was kind of what that was all about. So I'm going to just hit those one at a time very quickly, and then we'll move on. So health, I think, is going pretty well. So I've been exercising pretty much 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 4, but predominantly 5 days a week on average, for at least an hour. We started, and certainly Emma's been doing something. I started at the beginning of the week, beginning of the month on the treadmill. Treadmill broke, so I got my bike back out and put on the turbo trainer. So I do about an hour a day, basically doing cycling at the moment, which I'm really enjoying. I obviously get to watch things, which is where I get my downtime. So I've been doing that. I've been eating really well, no sugar, no alcohol, no crisps, no snacks, no drinks, nothing like that, no pastries, nothing at all. So lots and lots of fruit smoothies, lots of vegetables, fish, chicken, stuff like that, really. So yeah, that's been good. And I've been very much concentrating on my outlook, which is generally quite positive anyway, but not getting bogged down and stressed in the business and the family and everything else like that, and really trying to just breathe and relax. I must admit, I've been feeling a lot better for that. And I'm not going to lie, it is nice having a hot tub and going into the hot tub in the evening. I will be doing that after today's session and just chilling in there for sort of 45 minutes to an hour, which is lovely. And it also helps with your body when you've been exercising. Oh, Laurie, that's amazing. Laurie's just said, I've just had a big fat Krispy Kreme donut to make me feel better. God, I love a Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme, however you say it. So yeah, so I've been doing that, and I have been on the scales earlier today. And obviously been monitoring that. I have gone down literally just a fraction under 8 kilos. 8 kilos in about 6 weeks, because I was just tweaking just before December, just before or just into before Christmas, obviously starting to work out anyway and starting to really watch what I was eating, but really kicked off in January. And I really concentrated quite hard on it, worked very hard on it. And like I said, I've managed to get 8 kilos off, which is a huge figure, a big figure. But then I was quite a big weight in the first place. People always were quite surprised when I tell them how heavy I was, because I hold it very well, because I think because I'm tall, it doesn't look like I'm that heavy. But yeah, so I'm really happy with that. And I'm going to continue plowing on. Tomorrow evening and into Saturday is going to be my cheat day. So I'm going to do 1 cheat day in 10 going forwards for the next few months, certainly, so I can continue to keep pressing this. I'm going to keep the routine going. I want to press it for 90 days, which is 3 months, because that's where you embed a behavior. So yeah, so that's been really positive, really happy with that. And I've even set back up the gym in the garage, and I'll post some photos because the garage is just filled with so much stuff. And I emptied it last weekend with Emma. Kids helped a little bit and set it all back up with a gym, because all the gym equipment was in there. It was just had like cement mixers in the way, and bikes, and my paddle board, and just bits of wood, and just like garages do, just built up crap. So just sorted all of that out basically. So that's good to go. I got a couple of days in the gym earlier this week, so Really well planned. I'm not going to use the word lucky because it's got fuck all to do with luck. Really well planned. And obviously, I have got a gym at home and a proper gym setup. So I'll share some photos of that. So yeah, that's been going well. Really happy with that. And that's obviously helped my mental health because I'm exercising a lot. Laurie, crispy creme for 90 days. Jesus. Did anybody watch Super Size Me when that was on? And the program about going into a McDonald's for, I think it was 30 days. It might be 45 days. And all they could say was yes. So every time they said, do you want to supersize that? He had to say yes. They just ate McDonald's every single meal. It's so much weight. So yeah, so that's been that. Business wise, I will go into a bit more detail obviously as we go through, but yes, working a lot on the budgets, the finances for the prisons. Let's talk about Shepton and Shrewsbury effectively is the two main tourist attractions, obviously. So working very much on those two budgets. That's been talking about the January budget. So we obviously reanalyzed October, November, December in terms of our previous quarter. Obviously we've done the quarter before that. And very much came into New Year. We were looking at January, February, March, what that quarter is going to look like. And then April, May, and June. So what that quarter is going to look like, which takes us to the year. And then obviously next year, what the hell that's going to look like. So really important things to get right for a business. January just wiped out, zeroed. February was wiped out and zeroed. March actually had income into it until yesterday. I was sat up last night. It was still quite late. Chewing through the budgets. And then I said, fuck it, let's just wipe out March. So I've wiped out the income from March. So it's another 0 month, third month in a row, which is just big fat zeros. Which is a huge hit across two sites because our expenses don't change. And then obviously readjusting April, May, and June to get to where we should be at the end of the year. I spent time with the accountants last week. I think I'd done that actually before I did my live last week, which was looking at last year's figures. And I've just nearly finished, not quite there, the projections for next year. We've got some tweaking to do, some deep diving next Tuesday with the sales and marketing team. And then those are tied up. So I know exactly where we are to the penny for every single month now, ticking through up to October, basically this year, on basis of certain assumptions. But yeah, so I'll talk more about that in a sec, but that was about giving us a solid foundation on the prisons. I've got the new company up and running, which is what I wanted to do, diversify our portfolio, completely different business industry. There's some crossovers, but very much different business industry. So it will diversify what we're doing. If something like COVID hit again, this business could absolutely continue to run. And in theory, actually maybe thrive as that type of business. But it's probably going to take 12 to 18 months to generate any real revenue through it. So it's a long burn. It's not a quick kind of, we'll start trading next week type of stuff in that sense. So 2 seconds. You right? Cool. I'll be up in a little while, all right? Sweet. So yeah, so that was that one. And empowering people is just basically giving your team responsibility, but giving them the space to take the responsibility. Because you can say, I've given you the responsibility, but if you micromanage and stay on top of them, they haven't got the ability to actually use it or do it. So really trying to give my guys space and the freedom to crack on with it, which is difficult because at the same time you want to stay on top of it because you don't want them to make mistakes and you don't want those mistakes to cost you lots of money. So it's a real fine balance. And, you get ups and downs in the week and, speak to Lauren or Charlie or Harry or any of my team, basically, that I work with on a regular basis. And they will tell you that sometimes I'm brilliant, sometimes I'm a nightmare, I'm 90% right. And when I get it right, I tend to get it really right. And I'm 10% wrong. And when I get it wrong, I get it wrong. So it's a balancing act like that, but trying to really give these guys more and more power to do what they need to do because they're all really good at their jobs. And the more I can do that, the quicker our business grows and the more I can go and do other things, which is why I was able to find the time to kick off 50mm Media, which I'll talk about more in a second. So that was that. And then, trying to spend more time with the kids. So it was actually really nice setting up the gym because what's happened off the back of setting up the gym is Jonah, who started kickboxing, likes to come into the gym and we will do some boxing and we'll get on the punch bag and he's now started to get interested in weights. I mean, he's 7. So he started to get, well, he's nearly 8 in fairness. So he started to get interested in weights. So we're starting to do some weight work with him and things like that. So that's quite cool. Just doing little exercises. Delaney's been there as well and doing sit-ups with them and passing medicine balls. So we've been having a nice little connection there. We've been playing lots of games. They've been learning chess. I've been teaching them both chess and drafts. And just really, and then we've been trying to watch a family film sort of once a week type of stuff and spending some time on the weekend together, just sort of drill down together, doing stuff together. So it's, like I said, it's more about the quality time rather than increasing the time. It's increasing the quality of the time we already spend together. So yeah, that was that one. And that generally, that's going okay, I think, by and large. So yeah, that's like a detailed overview, I guess, and then I'll deep dive into a couple of the elements. So I'll just pick up some of the comments that have come through. I did see Laurie's. She's had a really long week, had a bit of a breakdown. Bloody hell! On Mondays, I'm exhausted with a son who doesn't sleep and working 52 hours this week. Well, 52-hour week is big. I'm not convinced, to be honest. If I worked for somebody else now, I don't think I would work a 52-hour week. I think if I was paid a 40-hour week, that's what I would do. And I wouldn't ask any of my team. I wouldn't ask any of my team to work beyond their contracts. 2 seconds. Jonah Campbell. What's up, pal? Oh.
Yeah.
You.
What?
Okay.
I can see there's 14 people watching.
There are. Now you need to go upstairs and go to bed. Right, go on. Sorry, yeah, I wouldn't do that. And you know, I've got some really good friends who have run business in the past and now work for other people. I've got some other friends I know very well that have always worked for other people. And some people work crazy amounts of hours, sort of getting towards the kind of amount of hours that I do, because they see that as how they're going to progress through the company. That's what they want to put in. That's what they want to get out. And I've got other friends, and probably one of the people I know who's, I would say, probably one of the best paid people I know. And I mean, I'm talking seriously well paid here. We're talking, you know, some zeros on the end of these numbers, incredibly well paid. And their role is, you know, VDs of this and that and the other type of stuff. And you would look at it and think, wow, that person must work so many hours. And they do 40 hours. They literally do 40 hours. Like, that's it, done my hours, I'm cutting off. So that's their contract. So yeah, that's it. Sati, you just jumped on to say, hey, baby girl, that was Jonah. That's my son. That's not my daughter. I'm telling him that. You'll be in trouble. So yeah, so you know, it's a long slog doing that many hours for somebody else. And I guess I'll ask the question, how many of you out there watching work more hours than you're contracted for? And not just work more hours, but how many more hours do you work and why? That's a really interesting thing for me, because as an employer, I'm not going to ask my team to do it. Some of them do it, and some of them do a lot more, and we address it. Some of them do a little bit more, and some of them don't. But I would never ask them to do it. I wouldn't expect it from them. So what I do expect is a high level of input and productivity when they are at work. That's a different discussion. Rachel, looks like you've had a bit of an up and down as well, Rachel. Homeschooling, yeah, it's a difficult one. And actually, I'll pick that up quickly because I was chatting to Stacey earlier this week because she's homeschooling. I saw a picture that she put on Facebook of her and the 3 boys, and the 3 boys sat in front of computers. They've had to get them glasses, I think. And I've seen a lot of parents having to do this, getting glasses because they're straining their eyes because of screens. I was like, man, I feel for you guys because you are so not set up for this world. And actually, it's one thing that we are, it's not due to me, it's due to Emma. She gets all the credit. We are very well set up for this world. So I was saying to the guys the other day that, you know, our kids don't spend that much time on screens during the day to do their home editing. So they're working on muscles at the moment. If you don't follow Emma, follow her on Instagram and watch her stories, and you'll see everything she does every day. And it's very rare they're on screens. What? Okay, you've said good night once. You have? Okay, good night. I'll come up in a sec. Go on, there we go. I know you're not allowed to go into 9 and 3. I helped set the process. So their iPads are locked between 9 and 3. But anyway, they still don't use it that much after. Oh, I lose track. One of the things Emma did, like they're doing muscles at the moment. So one of them led down, they drew around the other one on a big sheet of paper. And then they started drawing on where the muscles are and such like that and naming them, all those kind of things. And it was even to the extent of, obviously, we've got all the paper and the pens and so much stuff here. We've got an entire room filled with it because obviously that's how we educate our kids. So we were built for lockdown in terms of homeschooling, whereas a lot of parents are obviously reliant on computers and teachers sending work and stuff like that. So different world, but let me crack through. Just wish I hadn't given up alcohol and chocolate in 2019. Yeah, there's been a few days. I'll tell you what, there's been a couple of days this month where I've been like, God, well, actually last month in January, I've been like, oh God, I really could do with the drink this evening. Matthew's joined us. I actually had a 45-minute call with Matthew earlier, and going through the marketing demographics. So if you remember, Matthew jumped on last week. I was chatting about demographics, we were chatting about marketing. He said, hey, could we discuss this? So we had a call this afternoon, spent 45 minutes. I just took him through how we go about it and answered any questions he had and stuff like that. And I love doing that sort of thing. So that was a good crack this afternoon. Morris, I can't play chess with Toffee. Sati, you're in so much trouble. So I'm just reading through the comments. I just work my contract hours, me only 20 hours a week part-time. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I can see those of you who work for the NHS, you will be working extra at the moment. I totally understand that, and you probably want to. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I've got a magazine up there called Leisure Links, which was the old leisure magazine we used to have when I worked in the leisure centres. And it was an internal one. They did an interview on me once after I'd become a manager, my first managerial post, or my first site. And they did an interview on me. And one of the things I said was, I didn't realize you could work this many hours in a week. And I was working about 60, 65 hours in a week. I got paid for 37 and a half. But I was working about 60, 65. And we didn't have any kids then or anything like that. So it was fine. I was happy to do it because it helped progress my career. And that's what helped progress my career. Because I got great results because I put the work in, I got the results, and therefore I progressed. But yeah, and now I look back and go, God, I'd love to work 60 hours a week. That'd be amazing. What a dream come true that is. So yeah, so I get that. Yeah, Matthew used to work loads in supermarkets and stuff. I guess there's a difference between, it's interesting, Matthew's talking about how he worked 48 hours on contract in Audi, but worked 60 hours plus. My assumption is you got paid for those additional 12 hours, whereas a lot of jobs, and that's really what I'm getting at, is I never used to get paid for my extra hours in the leisure world. So if you work extra, do you get paid for those extra hours? Or is that just part of something you're doing off your own back? And therefore, it's just part of what you do effectively. Okay, so where do we go from here? So I guess let me talk about the downside. Let me talk about some of the shit this week, and then I'll move on to 50mm media and talk a little bit about that. So budgets really was the big one. We have our budgets profiled for next year. We actually did okay last year, and it's interesting because lots of business owners would not advise what I'm about to do, and I'm going to do a video on this as well into next week, and I'm going to release it, which loads of people would advise heavily against this, and my accountants would massively advise against this as well. But I'm going to release our revenue figures for last year in a video, and I'm going to very much talk about the profit lines and the profit margins, because last year we were closed, like a lot of people were, we were closed for a good 3 months. So we were closed for all of April, all of May, all of June. So we lost 3 months of trading, 3 complete months. But it was more than just 3 months of trading, because we actually lost all of the refund money, we gave back the money that we refunded, obviously, to all of our customers and stuff. But then it obviously kicked on beyond that. And basically, we lost in the region of about £100,000 in a business. So I think altogether it totaled, it wasn't quite 200 grand. It was about somewhere in the region about 170,000. I'm just waiting for the final calculation to come back from the accountants. But we basically were about £170,000 less than where we should have been. And it's interesting because actually last year we still made a profit. So we had such a good year up until March. Like, we were flying. I can't convey it in this meeting. I would need to put the figures out in front of you to sort of show you, but we were flying up until March, until lockdown hit. And we were really ramping up. And the reality is that we made, and again, I'm waiting for the final figures to come back, but we're somewhere in the region of about £100,000 in sort of a gross profit. And then we come down to the net profit, that does shrink. And I think we're going to end up somewhere in the region of about £70,000 profit, give or take, on a net profit. Then obviously we've got to take our taxes off that. So we're going to be paying our corporation tax and stuff like that. Now, the fact that we made a profit last year, I think is commendable anyway, commendable to the teams because they worked so hard to do it. But when you take into consideration that we did a £70,000 profit, and then we, on top of that, we lost another £170,000, give or take. Now, most of that £170,000 would have been clear profit. Now, I know that will sound a bit weird to some people, but that's because all of our costs are relatively fixed. So we've got really high costs, but there's a ceiling to them. Once we go above those costs, from delivery aspect, it's only a little bit in staffing that we have to increase, but everything else is the same. The bills from running the prison, the electric, the gas, the water, the heating, not there's any heating, the accountancy fees, the legal fees, all the processing fees, all the centralization fees, all the subscriptions, all of that stuff is fixed. So really it's only the staff fluctuation, and that's relatively level. And we have to increase quite a chunk in terms of people through the door to hike up the staff, and we can see the trends. So realistically, out of that £170,000 that we lost out on, a good chunk of that would have been profit. Obviously, there wouldn't have been furlough quite in the same way, so that would have been a balancing act. But we could easily say that a good 100 to 120,000 that would have been clear profit. So we'd have been finishing the year getting somewhere towards anywhere from 150 to 200,000 pounds. I'll do a much clearer video, and that's the point. Is we generate about 70k profit, but if it hadn't been for COVID, we'd have finished somewhere in the region of 150 to 200,000, just depending on how that had happened over Easter and those kind of things. So that was a massive fucking hit, and that's money we will never see back. It's gone. It's gone. No grant money or anything like that is going to pay that back. Nor would I expect it to, because lots of businesses are in the same situation. So that was finishing off last year. We're obviously in this year, which is a bit of a whirlwind. We can't really figure it out in terms of we don't know what's going to happen. So we're just having to ride the storm. And thankfully, we made good money the year before. We obviously have picked up a little bit of grant funding from a couple of places, which has been spent on developments and improvements. But realistically, through planning and through me putting some cash in and for me stopping, I haven't been paid since Emma and I haven't got paid in that same way as we used to since March last year. So all that kind of thing is helped to continue it and to keep it going forwards, and we will be, and that'll be absolutely fine. So this year is a bit, it's not a real year. We can't equate it as a real year. So next year we've got our budgets. We know what we're expecting to do. And basically everyone has to feed back in their own little bits of budgets, whether expenditure or income and stuff, and it all gets collated. And yesterday I sat down, I was going through it, and I had the final sort of last couple of bits back, and I looked at them, and it was shocking. From where we'd projected our growth should have been for this year coming up, which starts in July 2021 through to June 2022. We obviously had a projection pre-COVID and post-COVID from the summer and where we should be. And we were expecting to generate somewhere in the region of sort of about 3 million, just over 3 million pounds over the two jails quite comfortably in that year. And we've taken off at this stage about 1.3 million quid. So yesterday I sat there and I watched 1.3 million pounds disappear from our budgets. And that is predominantly our profit line. Because again, our ceiling of costs is fixed. So we've got a point. And then once we go above that, it's all happy days. It's all gravy. And I just watched it just go do, 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 do. And I was like, shit, this is bad. This is fucking bad times. And yeah, and that took some adjusting to sort of see your figures change by that much money and have no control over it. And that's the thing. And we're still only best guessing what we think we'll be able to do without knowing where the government are going to be on this or anything like that. So they're still kind of best guesses. So it's a huge hit, huge hit. Good night, Laurie. Catch up with you. Well, you've got an early start tomorrow, so I'll catch up with you at some point next week. So yeah, so it was a big chunk of cash, big chunk of change. So yeah, that's what I dealt with yesterday. And I was quite pissed off with it, I'll be honest. It's really sort of ticked me off. It's not anyone's fault, it's just the way it is. Lots of companies are struggling, lots of companies are closing. And I came back in today and I was sort of chatting to a few of the staff and such like a few of the team. And actually I went to see one of the team in the sales department. And I was chatting to them who'd given me their budget. And I went, oh, do you know what? I need to thank you. And she's like, hey, and so I want to thank you for your budgets, because do you know what? I think you're being a little bit soft on your budgets. I think you've undercooked them. I think you're going to do a lot more than that. And I think you should target a lot more than that. But I'm happy to take your targets, because ultimately it's a challenge. And I want to thank you for giving me a challenge, because now I'm looking at this and I'm going, and it's about my mindset. I wasn't quite there early last night, but I got there by the time I went to bed, which was, I am absolutely pumped to smash those targets and to get back to where we actually were originally targeted. I want to make that 1.2 million quid back. I want to make it in this coming year. I'm not accepting that money's just gone. I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to fight to make sure that comes through the door so we can hit the original budget that we planned. Fuck COVID. It is not stopping what I'm doing. This steam train is going through it regardless. And that's what I'm going to do. And I said thank you to them, because I said, if it was easy, I'd be bored. And that is literally it. If it was easy, I'd be so bored. So I was like, I want the challenge. So thank you for giving that back to me. Thank you for giving me back that fire so I can really drive forwards. And that is about mindset. So yeah, so that's kind of where we were financially. I'm going to do a much more detailed video on that, sort of specifically for LinkedIn. Like I say, a lot of people don't think I should release that kind of information. It's like, it's a lot of IP information. It's a lot of, it's a lot of information around your business and where you're going and stuff like that. But I'm quite happy to do it. So yeah, so that was that one. Right. Yeah, I'm kind of getting there, I guess. I've talked so much. Need to breathe. I will do. Would you guys like to hear about 50 mil media? Oh, I tell you, Delaney, should we tell everybody what we're doing tomorrow quickly? Are you gonna come down for that? Okay, we'll tell you quickly what we're gonna do tomorrow, because you'll like this. So it was Emma's birthday last week, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Your mum's birthday last week, and she obviously couldn't have anything to drink or any cake or anything like that, because we're not doing it. You're gonna not screen. You're being screen shy. You're not being screen shy. So what did we say that we would do? We said that this Friday, so tomorrow.
We got Mummy to order lots and lots of food, so tomorrow we're gonna have a party. Yeah, tomorrow we're having a party at home. So the way we're going to do our party is, we've not told Emma this, but we're going to make a cake. We're going to make loads of food and put it on the table like a big party sort of arrangement. I've got even not my beaker. I've got a load of lights from work. I've got the smoke machines from work. So we're going to set it up in the front room as a big party. And I've hooked up a Zoom link for all of our friends and family to be able to hook into, basically, so they can join the party throughout the evening. And we're just going to get smashed, aren't we? To give an excuse.
Well, I'm going to get smashed. She's not.
to give an excuse for Mummy helping me make a cake is, I said, Mum, can you help me make a cake for your anniversary?
Yeah, it's our wedding anniversary tomorrow as well. So yeah, it's a double celebration. But yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to have a big party, aren't we, in our front room? Lots of lights, lots of smoke. The neighbours will think the house is on fire. Cool, right. Go to bed. I'll catch you in a sec. Here you go. See you in a bit. Okay, cool. Right, 50 mil media. So I'll pause there, cool, because Paul will, I'm sure, give me an opinion on what he thinks of this. So I've been toying with this for a while, in terms of how I'm going to piece this together, this media company, what I wanted to do, the diversification, the things I enjoy and stuff like that. So I again, I shouldn't really give too much away on 50mm media because it's just started and other people will copy it. And there's already other people doing a similar thing. So, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And hey, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, as they say. And you can steal somebody's idea, but you'll never be able to execute it. Anyway, here we go. So 50mm Media is a production company. It produces engaging, sticky content. It produces podcasts and video casts, and it manages and develops the presenters or the people, the artists, effectively through that journey. So the concept is we basically take on individuals and create shows with them or for them or alongside them, or we take on an already existing show. So we take that individual who's doing podcasts or video casts where they've started, they want to get started, they're well down the track, and we basically wrap around the production piece with them. So in not a dissimilar way to how a record label would do it, it's just we're doing it with podcasts and video casts. So if we take Officer Goodwin, for example, my good friend Graham. So Graham and I had this concept for a show called Behind Bars. It was all about everything that happens in prisons, the things that people don't know about, the things that they'd be interested in, controversial topics and subjects, but also the reality, the truth, the actual things that happen. And we always thought that we'd start off by doing presentations, which is what Graham's doing at the moment, and then we'd build up to inviting in guests, and it would grow and it would grow and it would evolve. So that was the concept. So very much we produce it. So I sit with Graham and a couple of other people, and we discuss what the show's going to be about, the content, the layout, the format. And we're just starting now to get a bit more structured as 50mm Media's coming on board. So that's kind of how we do the production of a show in terms of the working theory. And then we have the tech side of actually executing the delivery of it. So the shooting of it or the filming of it or the recording of it, whatever it is. Graham's is probably the most complex show because it's live. So therefore everything has to be planned and it's already plumbed in and off it goes. Whereas if Graham's show wasn't live, we could take time, we could do different cuts, we could do different edits, we could add stuff in afterwards. We don't have all that pressure. And that's normally what screws me up, is the pressure of having it live and some of the tech not working and stuff like that. So we do that piece and we do all the production of it, and then we pull off the content afterwards, because most of them won't be live. Graham's is quite unique in that sense. And we'll pull all the content off, and then we'll turn it into podcasts, we'll turn it into a video cast, and obviously we'll push it out into the big wide world in whatever format it's going out in. So we take care of that piece as well. So we've got the production of designing the shows, the tech of actually recording and doing them, and then the obviously pushing them out into the world. And then we've got another huge piece of the puzzle, which is the management of the social media accounts, or the brand, if you will, and the development and the growth of the brand. So in that sense, the brand for Graham is Officer Goodwin. The show is Behind Bars, but the brand is him. It's Officer Goodwin. And there's a bio that we put together for Officer Goodwin. There's a bio we put together for the show, for Behind Bars. There's keywords and demographic targets. So who's Graham's shows targeted at? How does it fit that? What keywords do we use? What hashtagging do we use? What language do we use? What style do we use? What post do we use? All that kind of thing that revolves around building any brand. And again, we use specialists to help us do this. We use linguists to help us pull together the right word for the right brand, for the right person, for the right demographic. So we do all of that. So we've got all these different bits, and then we put it out in the right big wide world, and we let it evolve, and we let it develop, and we let it grow. And my concept is to bring on loads of new shows, loads of new artists, loads of new presenters, loads of new shows, and just keep developing them and developing them and developing them, and open studios in different areas. We've got a studio at the moment, obviously in Shrewsbury. Hey, we've got a prison, we've got loads of fucking room, so why not open one there, which we're already paying the bills for? It doesn't cost us anything to do it other than setting the studio up and the running and the running of the actual studio from there. So there's no other cost there. And what I want to do is get that going and then eventually open studios elsewhere, so we can do a similar thing. And the studios are decent, they're kind of a middle range sort of studio, I guess. So we can do much better quality than people could do at home. And we can really control it and make it work really, really well. But we're not, £100,000 studio type of stuff. So that's kind of the concept that I'm running with that. And that's going to take some time to monetize, probably talking 12, 18 months down the line. What I love about it is it's so diverse. You speak to so many different people. You've got so many different involvements and different types of shows. It's really up and coming with technology. It's really out there at the moment with how it's going. I've got some great ideas of where I'd like certain aspects of it to go and where I'd like my role in that business to be. So it developed, and I actually had it under a working name, if you will. So I was telling people about it on the down low, talking about people about people. I was calling it Sky Blue Media, which is another name that I own, another brand that I own. But I knew it was never going to be called that. That's what I was telling people, so I could just kind of format it, bounce the idea off people and get different thoughts. And that's what I tend to do, is see where I've missed things or where things will work or where they won't work and stuff like that. Just get different feedback, really. So obviously here it is, 15 Raw Media, fully up, fledged and established. We have our first show. We haven't really kind of driven and announced that because there's a lot going on everywhere. But that's behind bars. We've got a second show on the way, which is looking good, which is called The Business Meeting, which is my show where I meet and interview entrepreneurs and business people to find out about their stories and how they've achieved what they've achieved and where things have gone wrong and things gone right and stuff like that. And really, we're going to cast the net quite wide very, very soon and basically say, hey, if you've got an idea for a show that you want to do, or if you're already running a show, or you'd like to do one, drop us a message, tell us the theory, tell us the plan, tell us what you'd like to do on the subject matter, and we will work with you to see if it's something that could be developed. And if we believe it is, and it's engaging and sticky content, then we will absolutely commission that, and we'll produce it and we'll drive it forward. It's got. I'm just reading some of the comments, especially Paul's. There are some other ways you can do this already. Spotify, you can go on. They've got a brand you can sign into, and you can record your podcast and they'll upload it and take care of all of that. Kind of similar to like how Wix would be for websites, but I want to do something a bit different. So that's that. And we've got real good skill set in house at the moment in terms of production value for creating good content. We are starting to work now with sort of studio technicians, which is, that's exactly what Paul does, who I've mentioned a few times on here, about what tech we should be using, about actually getting the good standard of recording done, but also utilizing their knowledge to help impact how we can design a better show from a production standpoint and how we can utilize technology better in the actual shows. And then obviously pulling off the media, editing it, which is a slightly different person again, which is the editing side of things, which again, we've got a skill set on, uploading and getting it out there, which again, we've got a skill set on, and then managing the brand and the whole piece around pushing that show and that presenter forwards, which again, we are very, very skilled at. And also we've got people that we can pull in to help us write the bios and make sure the language is right and stuff like that. And then we've even got a team working in the sales world that can drive forward the sales in terms of the marketing, the advertising stuff when the time's right down the line. But I'm not worrying about that at the moment. So, and we've got, a really good skill set in radio and stuff in terms of people that have worked with radio stations doing exactly that sort of job. So we've got all the bits and pieces. We've got some money in the bank so we can drive it forwards. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. And my next piece of work is to put the studio together, to buy all the equipment to go into the studio, to put it all together and to start pumping out better quality shows. And then obviously bringing in more artists, more shows and driving it like that. So Paul has said, sounds like it has a very good idea with a way to grow. Yeah, it's got a long way to go. Are you thinking of doing things outside the studio? Do you know what, Paul? We will do bits outside the studio, but I'm not thinking of doing masses outside the studio, because I think one of the beautiful things about being in the studio is we can control the environment. We can guarantee the level of quality. And you will appreciate this. Once we're in a studio, we can guarantee the lighting, we can guarantee the sound, we can guarantee the camera angles, we can utilize modern technology with green screening to shoot however we like, wherever we like. And that's what we do with Graham. We're doing a very crude format. We can utilize so many different pieces of software to really embark on it. And we can bring guests in. And as shows start to grow, people want to be on them. So it's kind of it's a starting point. We go from there. So we will do bits outside, but I think that's another step. And I don't know if that's where we'll end up or not. It would be progressive and we'll see. But at the moment, certainly, I like the idea of being in the studio. And that obviously has its limitations because people are in the studio and getting to a physical location. But at the same time, I also think it has its At the moment, I would say that the benefits outweigh the negatives, and that's why I would like multiple studios, because that does make it easier. But it is nice, you know, same with recording artists. I could jump up on the piano, chuck my phone on the piano, bash out a song, or turn on the keyboard, plug my phone in, record me doing a song type of stuff, and it will be okay quality. But if I go into a recording studio, it's going to be a much better level of quality, not just because they can control the environment, but the equipment's better. But there'll be a sound engineer that knows what they're doing. And with a sound engineer that knows what they're doing and a producer that knows what they're doing, they'll listen for it, they'll tweak it, and they'll give you a much better finished product. Same song, same person, different finished quality. And that's the same, I think, when you're in a studio environment with the production side of things, but also the studio engineer, you will get a better level of quality. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. So that's going to be doing it. So hey, if you've got an idea for a show, podcast or video casts, hit us up, 50mm Media, and we'll look at whether it's something that we should be producing or not. Paul, you're absolutely right, and you know, I'd love to be able to kind of think, right, studio in Birmingham, and I've already got a location. I would do one in Birmingham, studio in Bristol, Manchester, a couple in London, and you know, you start to spread these places out, and you can see it come together. And you know, they're not expensive. You know, you don't need a really nice location. You can pay £2 or £3 a square foot. And get a decent studio. So you don't need to be, you know, bells and whistles. So yeah, it's a starting point, like I say. And I think more companies like this will start to jump up quite quickly. And I think some of the bigger players that already do this with well-established shows, like the BBC, for example, will start to do this with smaller people, which is where we're starting, or smaller numbers. So yeah, that's 50mm Media. So very excited about getting that one moving. And that's just a time thing, really. So I'll be honest, my tea's gone cold. It's bloody disgusting. Right, I'm at 45 minutes. I'm not really going to finish in too much more on that. There's a few bits I didn't discuss this evening about the work that's happening at Shrewsbury Prison, but maybe what I'll do is I'll get some photos and show them to you next week, because the work should be finished by then. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm going to head off. I'm going to go sit in the hot tub, like I say, for a little while, and just chill, basically. And I've got a few hours of work to do in the morning, and obviously I'll be doing a party with the kids and with Emma tomorrow evening. So thank you very much, guys. It's been enjoyable again. Thursdays are fast becoming one of my favorite days of the week, and I will catch up with you next week for Join Joel 38. We're getting closer to that ever big number of 52. So I'll catch up with you in a bit, guys. Take care, and thank you once again.